appears much greater than the moon. The land areas are generally a brownish, sort of dark brownish to light brown in texture. Many vortices of clouds can be seen of various weather cells, and that long band of cirrus clouds that extend from the entrance to the Gulf of Mexico, going straight out across the Atlantic.
For the first time in history today, man got a long-distance live view of the planet he lives on, transmitted and described by the first 3 human beings to travel to the moon. The Apollo 8 astronauts sent back those pictures this afternoon, and we'll have more, along with the full story, later in this broadcast.
Direct from our newsroom in New York, in color, this is the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite and Eric Severide in Washington, Robert Shackney in Panmunjom, Korea, and Charles Kuralt in New York with an eye on the moon.
It used to be, lady, you had no rights. No right to vote, no rights of property, no right to the wage you earned. That was back when you were laced in, hemmed in, and left with not a whole lot to do. That was back when you had to sneak up to the attic if you wanted a cigarette. Smoke in front of a man? Heaven forbid.
You come a long way, baby, to get where you got to today.
Introducing new Virginia Slims, the slim filter cigarette for women only, tailored for the feminine hand. Slimmer than the fat cigarettes men smoke, with a kind of flavor women like. Rich, mild Virginia flavor. New extra long Virginia Slims in the slim purse pack.
You got your own cigarette now, baby. You come a long, long way.
The 82 crewmen of the U.S. intelligence ship Pueblo underwent medical examinations in South Korea today prior to their trip home for Christmas reunions with their families. They're scheduled to arrive in San Diego tomorrow afternoon. CBS News correspondent Robert Shackney in Panmunjom has the strange story surrounding their release by North Korea.
Captured in the very act of crime while perpetrating espionage and hostage.
Almost up to the time that the Pueblo crew was to be freed, American and North Korean negotiators were still exchanging insults, charges, counter-charges, and denials across the conference table, as they have been doing for almost 1 year. Major General Gilbert Woodward, in advance repudiating the formal American apology and admission of guilt that he was about to sign to win the freedom for the 82 men of the Pueblo.
But my signature will not and cannot alter the facts. I will sign the document to free the crew and only to free the crew. Pueblo vi 합동을 저희들의 입장은 판문점 협상에서와 또한 공개적으로 비정의감하게 금연되었으므로.
This is where the ordeal and captivity of the Pueblo crew is ending. Crew members walking one by one over what's known as the Bridge of No Return into Panmunjom, 11 months to the day after their ship was captured. Commander Booker was the first one across. He had escorted the coffin of fireman Dwayne Hodges, the only Pueblo crewman to lose his life when the ship was taken. The men filed slowly across the bridge, 82 of them, lowest ranks first, officers except for the commander last. Their uniforms, gray pants, a blue coat, a gray hat. The crew was first taken to a nearby American base camp for a quick bite, a chance to warm up, and that all-important preliminary interrogation by intelligence officers. For this is the first time since the Pueblo was lost that American intelligence will be able to find out just how much damage was done, just how much of the Pueblo's secret equipment and documents were destroyed before capture, and how much were taken by the communists, and whether in fact the Pueblo was intruding in North Korean waters.
I never once, nor did that ship ever once, intrude into the territorial waters of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, as they call themselves, not at any time during the entire operation. I assured myself...
Booker, without apologies, offered the explanation of why he and his crew members had signed confessions. Threats, solitary confinement, and beatings by the North Korean captors.
people would normally be beaten individually. But last week, we went through, the week before last, commencing the week before last, we went through the most concentrated form of terror that I've ever seen or ever dreamed was possible. I haven't done that much traveling. I'm not professionally a espionage man or a spy man or anything, a spy agent or anything like that. I'm not that well read on the subject, except for James Bond and a few of the other would-be agents. So I was not prepared mentally for the beatings that were handed out. I thought they were totally brutal, with no mercy of any kind. They were done for one purpose, and that was to terrify and terrorize people. I had about half of the crew last week beaten badly. There are still many people in the crew today who are carrying black eyes and bruised ribs. I had one man last week beaten with a 4x4.
His crew was flown immediately to a hospital near Seoul. Each survivor of the Pueblo had a military policeman to escort him. Reporters were ordered not to question them. The plan is to get the men home by Christmas, 2 days after their release. Robert Shackney, CBS News, Panmunjom.
The United States is not giving up its claim to the Pueblo itself, but no one really expects North Korea to return it. The Navy estimates that a replacement would cost about $3.5 million. A 3-day Christmas truce proclaimed by the Viet Cong has gone into effect in South Vietnam, but Allied officials said that, based on past experience, they do not expect a complete halt to the shooting. Just a few hours before the ceasefire, the Communists fired rockets into 3 Allied airstrips, an American military base, and 2 villages. At least 30 South Vietnamese were killed or wounded. In Paris, a Viet Cong spokesman indicated today that the guerrillas might deal directly with the Saigon government, but only after the expanded peace negotiations get underway. His statement came in response to a weekend offer by Vice President Key of South Vietnam to hold 2-way talks with the Viet Cong. Key, however, emphasized that they could not be held within the framework of the Paris meeting.
Presenting Continental's Just About Everything policy. We can insure just about any kind of business or bank or school, or you name it, against almost anything, just about anywhere in the world. And we can combine almost all your risks in one comprehensive business policy that may save you up to 25%. A call to your Continental agent takes care of just about everything.
Apollo 8 astronauts Borman, Lovell, and Anders late today became the first men to fully escape the dominance of the Earth's gravity. More than 200,000 miles into their epic journey, the 3 crossed the cosmic barrier where the moon's gravitational pull is stronger than the Earth's. And tonight, the astronauts no longer are rising from the Earth, but falling toward the moon, and are scheduled to go into lunar orbit tomorrow. This afternoon, the astronauts transmitted the first pictures of the Earth. We've marked this still picture to show what will be seen. The angle of the spacecraft puts the Earth horizontally, with North America on the left. The terminator, where light and dark meet, obscures the top or European and Asian portion of the globe.
Hope that everyone enjoyed the picture that we're taking of themselves. How far away from Earth now, Jim, about?
We have you about 180,000.
Looking at yourself. All right, Jim. Well, looking at yourselves is seen from 180,000 miles out in space. Mike, what I keep imagining is if I'm some lonely traveler from another planet, what I think about the Earth from this altitude, whether I think it'd be inhabited or not.
You don't see anybody waving, is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm just kind of curious whether I would land on the blue or the brown part of the Earth. You better hope we land in the blue part.
So are we, babe.
Jim is always for land landings. To give you some idea, Mike, what we can see, I can pick out the southwest coastline of the Gulf and where Houston should be, and also the mouth of the Mississippi. I can see Baja, California, and that particular area. I'm using a binocular which we have aboard.
All right, well, we're seeing the entire Earth now, including the Terminator. Of course, we can't see anything past the Terminator at all. Are you able, with your binoculars, to see the dark horizon or anything past the Terminator?
Negative, Mike. We can't see anything past the Terminator with the binoculars or without them. This Earth is just too bright, and it cuts down the night adaptation to see anything on the dark side.
CBS News continuous color coverage of Apollo 8's planned insertion into lunar orbit, including live television transmission from the spacecraft as it circles the moon, begins at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning Eastern Time. Pope Paul, voicing new concern about dissent and disobedience within the Roman Catholic Church, today unexpectedly called for a top-level conference of bishops next fall to take up the problem. The announcement of a new synod came during a Christmas address to cardinals in the Vatican. The Pope also indicated he plans to make another statement on birth control, one of the issues at the center of the church crisis. Equatorial Guinea, without any explanation, has halted Red Cross mercy flights from one of its islands to Biafra. Those flights have been carrying up to 90 tons of food daily to the Biafrans. The order went into effect 3 days ago, and Red Cross officials have had no success in trying to get it rescinded. In Italy, 73 members of the mafia were sentenced to a total of 200 years in prison today on charges that included murder, kidnapping, and robbery. The heaviest terms, 20 years plus, were handed out to the leaders of two rival gangs that fought for control of the underworld in Palermo. Police said their feud resulted in 100 deaths.
What causes my heartburn, my indigestion?
In your stomach, excess acid may build, and build can cause acid indigestion, heartburn, that burning sensation. But Rolaids, with its exclusive buffering compound, has thousands of absorbent particles. Each consumes 47 times its weight in excess stomach acid. Gives fast, lasting relief. Rolaids consumes 47 times its weight in excess stomach acid.
Okay, kids, upstairs and gargle with Listerine. You're soaking wet.
Does Listerine keep me dry?
No, silly. It's colds I'm worried about. We can't really stop them, but this year we're going to get lots of sleep and good food and gargle twice a day with Listerine. I bet that'll help keep colds away.
Do grown-ups do this too?
Of course we do.
Listerine Antiseptic. Try it, and your family may have fewer colds, milder colds this season.
Prices fell sharply on the New York Stock Exchange today in a combination of a year-end sell-off and new worries about the economy. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost more than 13 points. Volume was 13 million shares. The exchange index suffered its biggest one-day loss in 5 months, with the price of an average share of common stock closing down 55 cents. Raymond Swing, one of the best-known broadcast newsmen of World War II, died last night at his Washington home. He was 81. Swing began his newspaper career in Cleveland in 1906. He later became a foreign correspondent and then a broadcaster for American networks and the BBC. Most recently, Swing was employed by the Voice of America. Leroy Jones, the militant Negro playwright, today won a new trial on charges dating from the 1967 racial riots in Newark, New Jersey. An appeals court ruled that the trial judge delivered a prejudicial charge to the jury, which convicted Jones of possessing illegal weapons. The Federal Aviation Administration said today that cracks have been found in the wings of 5 F-27 prop jet airliners. A survey is being made now of the approximately 150 such craft now in operation on 7 U.S. airlines The speed limitations have been imposed on the F-27s until those checks are completed. The tests were begun after metal fatigue was found in an F-27 which crashed in Alaska this month. The Apollo 8 mission, perhaps more than anything else, signals the beginning of the end to thousands of years of mystery and wonder about the moon. With man now closer to it than ever before, and a landing probably only months away, Charles Kuralt tonight takes a look back.
Subject, the moon. Rhymes conveniently with June and soon and even balloon. Satellite of the Earth. 110 entries in Bartlett's familiar quotations. Target of both the American and the Russian manned space programs. And target also, since something like a man first looked up from the night swamp, of such a cargo of awe and terror, veneration, delight, and longing, that the wonder is the moon hasn't long ago come crashing down under the sheer weight of human emotion. From the dawn, from the oldest seals and scrolls and statues, the moon was man's god, a god older perhaps than the sun. Even Mount Sinai, where Moses received the tablets of the law from the hand of Jehovah, may have been named for Sin, the moon god of man's first great city, legendary Ur. And the gods of Egypt, who held the children of Israel in thrall, wore on their foreheads the crescent and orb of the might of the moon. After thousands of years, new empires arose, and with them a new moon, female now, to some the icy virgin huntress of the night, spirit of unknown death, the modest, spotless goddess. Yet other worshippers watched her grow and swell with new life month after month, and they named her Spirit of Fertility, of the Menses and the childbed. To man before Christ, it was the moon that held dominion over what was basic in life, birth, death, and the harvest. And as the moon has a dark side, so did our worship of her. To some among us in every age, the glaring eye of the moon has seemed to demand pain and shame and death. In England, at Stonehenge 4,000 years ago, unknown men erected a monstrous circle of stone, both temple and observatory, of the moon. And there are indications that they consecrated their temple with blood. In ancient lands, and some not so ancient, youths were flogged and maidens ravished on the altar of the demanding moon. Even that rinky-tink tune we began with, My Sweetheart's the Man in the Moon, is just a milk and water modern version of some very old, very ugly beliefs as to what can happen to a mortal woman who catches the eye of the immortal moon. We may no longer believe that the moon drives men mad, but we do believe, we know, that the moon affects the susceptible mind, that suicide and murder reach peaks when the moon is full. We even retain the word that means moon-maddened, lunacy. And there may be worse things than lunatics under the moon. Even a man who is pure in heart and says his prayer by night may become a werewolf when the moon is full and bright. As long as Earth remained a serene center of a perfect, changeless universe, almost all our thinking was one way, what the moon could do to us. But when Galileo put his telescope to his eye and discovered that that was a world up there, the direction changed. These first drawings of the moon rocked the 17th century as the discovery of the New World had rocked the 15th. Even tonight, 300 years later, we're still rocking. For in an age of voyages, there was now a new voyage to be made, the greatest voyage of all, and how we dreamed of making it. We would harness, perhaps, great flocks of birds and soar up, up. Surely it was just a matter of enough birds. Or we would harness instead those mysterious new powers, electricity and steam, and puff our way to the moon at a breakneck 30 miles an hour. The most resourceful dreamer of us all, the madcap poet of the distinguished nose and the white plume, Cyrano de Bergerac. The sun sucks the dew into the sky. Ah bien, Cyrano will deck himself in bottles of dew and be sucked up with them. Smoke rises. Alors, Cyrano will seal himself in a bubble of smoke and rise too. French logic is not to be trifled with. But another, later Frenchman had a still stranger idea. Jules Verne's astronauts were well-upholstered Victorian gentlemen who built themselves a well-upholstered Victorian bullet. A great cannon buried in the earth would fire that bullet all the way from the earth to the moon. Such a cannon might one day fire off whole moon trains. Why not? Verne's vision was strange, not because it wouldn't work, but because it almost would. The moon voyage was coming down to Earth. Verne's moon cannon inspired practitioners of that other infant scientific marvel, the motion picture. This French film is one of several such turn-of-the-century epics. Jolly astronomers decide, with a maximum of motion, to build a big bullet and head for the moon. But this film, never before on television, may be the rarest of all, for it is in color, portions of it painstakingly hand-painted, frame by frame. And man arrives on the moon in a triumph of 20th century technology, a puff of orange smoke. Over the ages, there have been as many moons as there have been men. To Shakespeare, a silver bow new bent in heaven. To Shelley, that orbed maiden with white fire laden. To Hugo, the kingdom of dreams. She was the fair and friendly moon to Bryant, the ghastly phantom moon, immense and silent moon to Whitman. To our own with-it generation, there is only one moon, God's bullseye, put there to be hit as often as possible. We know the real moon, front and back, warts and all. We know what she weighs and how she wears her hair. All that remains now is to go. And so in a very little while will come the moment that will make our generation forever different from any other in the billion years since life began on Earth. Yet it is just possible in that splendid moment when we gain the moon, it is just possible that our first emotion will be a shocking sense of loss. Charles Kuralt, CBS News, in the waning hours of the pre-lunar era.
In a moment, Eric Severide comments on the flight to the moon.
Mogan David wine makes an excellent gift, housewarming gift,
Mogan David Blackberry wine is always welcome.
anniversary gift,
Adds to the fun.
birthday gift,
Everybody likes a taste of Mogan David.
holiday gift,
All wrapped up for you.
bon voyage gift.
Goodbye. Hello. Congratulations.
Mogan David Concord, Blackberry, Cherry, Rosé, and Cream Sauterne wines. Give them often. Mogan David masters the art of making fine champagne. Mogan David American Champagne. Golden hued, moderately dry, a taste you'll enjoy. And a new taste in champagne, Mogan David American Concord Red Champagne. Made from Concord grapes, delicately sweet. Two fine champagnes to serve, to enjoy. Champagnes by Mogan David.
Three creatures of frail flesh and blood are floating through the blue blackness of space in the neighborhood of the moon. It is staggering, and we do not know what it means, except that what man can imagine he can do. It is an act of supreme courage,
as man keeps his records here on Earth, an immortal thing. No one knows what it will lead to, as no one knew what lay ahead when Columbus and his men left all horizons behind on the blue blackness of the ocean sea. A difference is that when Columbus sailed on and on, no one could follow. The whole world follows the three astronauts, hears their familiar laconic speech instantly and clearly, and sees our Earth, round, small, mottled with clouds, now and then resembling the human face that children on Earth see in the nighttime moon. Perhaps this will change us in a way, as the perceptions of Europeans were changed with the knowledge of the new world to the west. Man is not apt to become restless in his earthly confines, but it's a little hard to think of children sending sharp, sweet wishes to the moon when it has become the target of blunt-nosed missiles. Through the television camera in the streaking capsule, we can see our whole world, and it appears a small thing, ourselves smaller than crawling ants in the lens of our natural eyes. This is a humbling experience to many, but there is another way of considering man's dimensions which is not so humbling, a sense in which man is enormous. His physical body is, so scientists have said, just about halfway in size between the smallest entity we know, the particle, and the largest entity we know, the galaxy. As for the mind of man, it seems immeasurable, exalting, and terrifying in its capabilities. It is, after all, a symbolic coincidence that man imagined and then found a way to put human life on the moon in the same period in which he imagined and then found a way to put an end to all life on his own Earth. Our most critical problem remains not outer space, but inner space and inner man. We shall all have to work along at that as best we can, losing a little and gaining a little. We lost a little last night with the death of a man, an old friend, who spent his life in this business of trying to discover and explain these problems of living together in this crowded inner space of nations and peoples. Raymond Swing died at the age of 81. The older generation especially will remember his voice speaking calm and courage in the most frightening days of World War II. He was not just a landmark in this business of broadcasting, but a monument. Walter?
And that's the way it is. Monday, December 23rd, 1968. This is Walter Cronkite, CBS News. Good night.
Curlers on your head. Shame on you. Curlers in your bed. Shame on you.
Don't be caught in curlers. Ask Santa for a Kindness Instant Hair Setter. Heated rollers set dry hair with no water, no lotion. Kindness Instant Hair Setters. Gifts of the year from Clairol. Help keep America beautiful.
And it's no more shame on you.
What is an Excedrin headache? Well, if you suddenly discover a whole pile of unpaid bills,
Shirley.
that's a headache. If 4 of them are from the electric company,
Oh. Shirley.
that's an Excedrin headache.
Oh, no.
And for Excedrin headaches, you want Excedrin Strength. Excedrin, made stronger against pain and its tension than any other leading headache tablet. Try it.
Direct from our newsroom in New York, in color, this has been the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite.